It sure looks like the New Orleans Saints are in the quarterback business. Ladies and gentlemen, the backdrop, Nick Underhill. We are here yet again talking about the New Orleans Saints quarterback situation. More smoke. Question remains, is there fire? All right, now we've talked at length about the Saints quarterback situation where Derek Carr is technically the franchise quarterback. Derek Carr is technically under contract. If the season started tomorrow, he'd be the starter. But he is nowhere to be found. All right, completely absent. Completely gone. Loch Ness Monster, Amelia Earhart, gone. Okay? He's nowhere. Kellen Moore gets hired, who cares? Super Bowl happened, who cares? Restructure, who cares? I've said since day one, I think it's weird how this is playing out. It seems like a toxic relationship that for both parties, party A being the Saints, party B being Derek Carr, it would be best if the two parties just separated and just went their separate ways, journey style. Now, the problem with that is it's not so easy, right? The Saints can't just release Carr. The Saints can't just trade Carr. Carr has a no trade clause. And you have to have a partner to trade. So there's a lot of moving pieces that have to happen to figure out where the Saints are going to go at quarterback moving forward. We know the popular or the more likely scenario for this season is that Derek Carr is the starter. But I just don't think he's going to be the starter much longer than that. So even if he is the starter, the Saints still have to figure out what they're going to do moving forward in the future. We've heard rumors of Cam Ward, trading up, getting Cam Ward. There's a high possibility that Shedeur Sanders will be there at 9. Do you take Jaxson Dart? Do you wait and take Kyle McCord or someone like that? A lot happening. So let's go ahead and hear what Nicholas has to say.
A little disclaimer here. Most of the stuff we talk about leading up to the draft ends up just being noise. But some stuff isn't noise. And to figure out what's noise and what isn't, you have to listen to all of it. But in the end, the team only ends up making a handful of picks. So most of the stuff we're going to talk about over the next month isn't going to come to fruition. And it ultimately will end up meaning nothing.
So this is true. I mean, obviously, a lot of the rumors and a lot of that is noise. But there is something to the noise just happening. Like, there is something to that, whether it actually happens or not. The fact that, like when we talked about the Cam Ward trade situation, will the Saints trade up and get the number 1 overall pick and take Cam Ward? I would say probably not. But there is relevancy. It is important to see, like, the odds go from 200 to 1 to 100 to 1 to 26 to 1. Like, that's not just nothing. That's worth something. And enough noise, you can kind of paint a picture of what's actually happening. Even if we don't take Cam Ward, we don't take Shedeur Sanders, we don't take Jaxson Dart, even if all that stuff happens and Derek Carr is there week 1, there is absolutely enough smoke, enough to say, you know what? Okay, this is not a healthy relationship. This is not going well. It might be amicable to the point to where they play, where Carr plays, but you can read in between the lines enough. And let me make this clear. It is irrelevant whose fault it is. I don't care if you think Derek Carr's got a raw deal and the Saints fans treating him bad and the Saints treated him bad and it's not his fault and we should be happy he's here. I don't care if you're on the Saints side saying that Derek Carr sucks and you hate him and he's the 5th best quarterback in the division and blah, 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 blah. Doesn't matter. All right. It doesn't matter what side you're on in this breakup. What's happening is that there is a breakup and it's better for both parties to move on. I fully believe that.
But this one, I think, is a little bit different.
All right.
This segment is presented by Matt Bowers Auto Group. Make sure you check out Matt for your new or pre-owned car needs at one of his many locations. So, yeah, we've seen the Saints around quarterbacks all week long. And I think there is something here. They went to Cam Ward's pro day. Then they flew over to Texas to take Quinn Ewers out to dinner. Then they went up to Ohio State where Kellen Moore talked to Will Howard. Then they came down to Oxford where they took Jaxson Dart out to dinner. Meanwhile, throughout the rest of the country, their quarterbacks coach is out working out other guys at the position. The Saints are very, very much in the quarterback business right now, and they should be. Their situation with Derek Carr is tenuous at best. He was looking for a trade just about a month ago before they restructured his contract. Now he's in for this season, but that doesn't mean he's in for next season or this.
He absolutely isn't in for next season. And the Saints are in a situation where right now, I like how they're going about this, because right now the Saints have no reason to hurry. They got cap compliant. Derek Carr's under contract. They can just chill. And there is no doubt in my mind that they are fielding calls. They are making calls. They are looking at things in the draft room, in the war room, or whatever. Like, what if we do take Cam Ward? What if we do take Jaxson Dart? What if we do take Will Howard? What if we do take whoever? Name your quarterback. Doesn't matter. What if we do take Kyle McCord? What about Spencer Rattler? Like, they have a lot of different avenues to go down, and there's no real reason to rush. There's no real reason to freak out. They have all the leverage in the world. Carr he's under contract. This is not a situation where they have to work out a deal or they have to figure that. They've already done that. They've already done that part. So for a fan, it's like, I wish we just knew one way or the other and we could just move forward. But from the franchise, I like how they're taking this approach where, see if you can get Cam Ward. What would it cost? What's that trade look like? Are you willing to do it? Watch every single snap of Cam Ward's college career. Watch every play. What do you think? What kind of player is he? Okay, do the same thing with Shedeur Sanders. If he's there at 9, do we pivot? If Dart's there in the second round, do we pivot? If McCord's there in the 4th, do we pivot? Like, you have to look at all these decision points. You look at the entire decision tree, and then you kind of act accordingly. So I know it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating because there is, like, on one hand, it's kind of a non-story, right? Like, but it's also not a non-story. Like, Derek Carr is the quarterback. That part you could say this is a non-story. Derek Carr is a starter. Get over it. He's not getting traded, whatever. But there is enough happening to where there is some confusion. There is enough happening to where it's like, well, if he is the quarterback, why is it happening like this? Like, why is it going down like this? Like, this is just kind of weird.
Season after that, which means the Saints need to be looking for possible long-term answers. And that might be in the first round if the right value's there and the right opportunities there. But it could also be in the middle rounds like we've seen in previous seasons. And I think the Saints just have to keep swinging the bat until they connect on something and they find their next quarterback. And they might miss on all their swings, but they're going to keep swinging until that position's set.
Well, the difference in this situation is that there is a possibility, like in these before swings, the Saints didn't have a chance at the first or second best quarterback on the board. Like, the Saints were, it was a 0-2 count, and they're swinging just to protect the plate. Now, there is a really high chance that the Saints will have a chance to get the second best quarterback in the draft in Shedeur Sanders, who not too long ago was considered the best quarterback in the draft. So that's why this is different, because it's also not insane to think they could move from 9 to 1. That is not crazy. Is it likely? No, it's not likely. But 200 to 1, 100 to 1, 26 to 1, it's telling you there's a chance, and it's telling you someone has heard something, whether it's just a phone call, whether it's just them reaching out to Tennessee saying, hey, what would it take? Tennessee saying it would take 3 firsts, and the Saints saying, okay, we're not paying that. That might have been all it is. But it tells you the Saints are active, and it tells you they are interested. The fact that they have flown to Oxford and Miami and Ohio State and Texas and, all the fact that they're doing all that, they are leaving every stone unturned. And, we made a video this week about Shedeur Sanders and the Saints. Up until this week, I didn't even think for a minute that Sanders would be on the radar for the Saints, because I thought, well, the Giants will take him. Well, the Browns will take him. Well, the Raiders would take him. Well, now that Adam Schefter reported that Abdul Carter is going second overall, that takes the Browns out of the equation. Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston signing seemingly takes the Giants out of the equation. Geno Smith being traded to the Raiders seemingly takes him out of the equation. And all of a sudden now it's like, well, damn, it's either the Jets or the Saints. Are the Jets going to take Shedeur Sanders? If not, you're staring down Shedeur Sanders at 9 overall if you're Mickey Loomis. and you're thinking, I mean, this is as good of a quarterback prospect. Whatever you think about Sanders, like, remove your personal belief. Shedeur Sanders is probably the best quarterback prospect that has fallen to the Saints at the time of the draft. I'm not saying how the prospect looked afterwards, like how they performed. I'm talking about at the time of the pick. He's probably the one where I think the Saints are looking at him going, well, I mean, this is something. The two that you could argue would be Deshaun Watson and Lamar Jackson. Deshaun is probably the answer over Shedeur. Now, the thing with Deshaun is, like, you still have Breeze. Like, does that kind of throw stuff out there? But he probably he is similar to the level of prospect as Shedeur is. I mean, Deshaun Watson is one of the best college quarterbacks ever play. Deshaun's the third quarterback to go in that class. I could hear the argument that he was a better prospect than Shedeur. Lamar, I don't know. I mean, Lamar is like the fourth or fifth quarterback to go in that draft. The Ravens passed on Lamar Jackson. Like, people forget about that. People are like, this team could have had a chance to take Lamar. This team could have had a chance. Every single team in the NFL, including the Ravens, passed on Lamar Jackson. The Ravens prioritized Hayden Hurst, drafting Hayden Hurst over Lamar Jackson. So Lamar was a different, I would say, controversial yet brave, but I would push back on that. I would say I think Shedeur is probably the better quarterback prospect coming out of college. Lamar, obviously, looking what he did now, but coming out, I mean, he wasn't even considered a first-round quarterback. We saw what happened, and then the entire NFL passed on him. Obviously, they shouldn't have, but I'll say Deshaun is probably in recent memory, because Mahomes didn't get there. Mahomes was almost, right? So Mahomes doesn't count. So in recent memory, I would say Deshaun is probably the best quarterback prospect the Saints have ever seen, had a chance to take, and didn't. Shedeur would be second. So if you look at last year, obviously the Saints, they had 6 quarterbacks or whatever go before the Saints even picked, right? You had Bo Nix, you had Caleb Williams, you had Jaden Daniels, you had Drake May, you had Michael Penix Jr. So last year is an obvious one, right? Let's take a look at 2023. So 2023, the Saints are 29. So, before they picked, it was Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. So you're 4 quarterbacks down. Let's go to the year before. We're just going to do like a couple of these. So we're not going to do all of them. Then you go back to look at me using Control F. All right, this one you're at 11. So they could have got the best quarterback on the board at this point. Who would it have been? Okay, that's why. This was the Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis. And obviously, like, Kenny Pickett is not as good of a prospect as Shedeur Sanders. Like, so, well, this one goes to what we were talking about. We go to the year before. Here, Saints are picking 28th. Some of the quarterbacks that went before them were Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence. So they're way down on this one. We'll just do a few more. All right, here, you're 24th. Cesar Ruiz is the pick. Quarterbacks to go before you in this one are Tua, Joe Burrow. Let's see the other QBs. Jordan Love. But Jordan Love, like, he's a good example. Or Justin Herbert went too. But Jordan Love's a good example. I would say Shedeur Sanders is a much better prospect than Jordan Love was. Jordan Love was kind of a developmental, like, he's kind of a mystery. So I would say Shedeur Sanders was a better prospect coming out than Jordan Love. Jalen Hurts, same thing. Like, Shedeur is probably a better prospect at the time than Jalen Hurts. And then, of course, Jacob Eason and James Morgan and all these guys. So let's do one more. Let's do one more here. Let's just go back until the Saints were actually, like, quarterback needy. Because when they had Breeze, they weren't really quarterback needy. Okay, so in this one, let's go Saints pick. They don't have a first in this one, so they're 48th. So that changes things. Let's see. Quarterbacks in this draft. So this draft was the Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones goes 6. Dwayne Haskins goes 15. Drew Lock goes 42. Okay, so then the Saints go at 48. And then the next quarterback doesn't go until Will Grier at 100. So this one too. So yeah, since Breeze retired, this is the best prospect that the Saints have had a chance to draft. That's worth noting.
Because it's far too important and far too much of a need to get a quarterback of the future in the building. So you have to be looking, you have to be doing your homework, and maybe they don't take one, but if the opportunity's there, I guarantee they pounce.
Well, the opportunity is going to be there. The opportunity is going to be there, I think, to draft Shedeur Sanders. And according to Nick, if the opportunity presents itself, they're going to pounce. His words, not mine. So that's kind of, think about where the Saints could be at 9th overall. If Shedeur slips, it's going to be Sanders. It could be McMillan. It could be Graham. It could be Genty. It's crazy the directions the Saints could go, the players that could be there. Even some of the defensive players like Shamar Stewart, Jalen Walker, and just the people who could be there, and the different directions that takes your franchise is absolutely wild. Absolutely nuts. But it's worth monitoring. I think it's an exciting time to be a fan when this kind of stuff's going on. I think it's an exciting time because it's just so many different, this is so much better than the years where it's just some random guard or some random center or a random lineman, but the rest kind of stays the same. If the Saints draft Shedeur Sanders, take away what you think about Shedeur. If the Saints draft Shedeur Sanders, that takes the whole franchise and puts it on a completely different path. Because all of a sudden now, you know exactly what's about to happen. You got your franchise quarterback, your future franchise quarterback in the building. Now you're focused on his development. Now you're focused on how good he can be, what he can do. He's not a 5th round pick. He's not a 3rd round pick. He's a 1st round quarterback. We haven't seen that since 1970. The Saints use a 1st round pick on a quarterback. This is something they never do. This is something Mickey Loomis has never done. Again, a lot of people say, well, they just do the same thing over and over again. It's the same old with the Saints. This would be nuts. Absolutely nuts. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments below what you think. Is there smoke? Oh, there definitely is smoke. Is there fire? Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you in the next video.